Hello everyone and welcome back to Cooking Historically. I am your host Marie and this is not usually where my videos come from. But this week I am making old New England Blueberry Muffins from the Made 9 Pies cookbook. So I figured why not go pick some fresh blueberries at one of my best friend's grandparents' blueberries farm. So that's what I'm doing. So they grow blueberries every summer and they're fresh. And I'm just so excited to be able to eat them. I mean, look at the blueberries. So, let's get to it. So, as you can all see, I am still not filming in a place where my videos usually come from. This week I am filming in my grandma's kitchen. So let's start the way we usually do and list off the ingredients that we need. So we are going to need 2 cups of flour, a 3/4 cup of milk, 1 egg, 2 teaspoons of melted butter. It says on the recipe 1 scant tablespoon of sugar, and it also says a heaping cup of blueberries, a heaping teaspoon of baking powder, and a large pinch of salt. As we see, the people who are making these recipes always love language of measurements. Let's get started. First, it says to beat the egg in our bowl, so that's what I'm gonna start with. It's really nice. This recipe actually has like measurements, and also it has an entire section on what to put in when and how to actually put this recipe together. This is the first time in this cookbook that I've had one of these, so it's really nice. It's a nice little change of pace. After we beat the egg, the next thing we're going to do is put in our milk and mix together the milk and the egg. And then we are going to put in the dry ingredients one by one. First is the flour, next is the salt, next we have the sugar, and finally for the dry ingredients, we have our baking powder. After we have our dry ingredients all together in the bowl, we are now going to whisk it all together. Once we have our batter all mixed together, the next thing we are going to do is go in with our butter. And then lastly, we are going to add our blueberries. And if you've watched this video from the beginning, you know that I pick these fresh, and that was just yesterday. So these are very fresh blueberries that are going into our batter. And realistically, you can add however many blueberries you want, depending on how many blueberries you like in your blueberry muffins. I'm going to put in quite a lot because I like my blueberry muffins full of blueberries. After we've got our batter together, the next thing we are going to do is portion them out evenly into our muffin tin. How many you get depends on how the recipe worked out for you, because this is, again, it's a historical recipe, so everything isn't probably quite as precise as it should be. So, and don't forget to either flour your muffin tin or use some of that trusty pan baking spray. When all was said and done, my batter turned out to be about 6 muffins worth. So, about a half a dozen muffins, and you know what? That's a good recipe for a person who is particularly like cooking for one person, like I generally am sometimes. So after that, I'm also going to put a sprinkle of sugar on each of the muffins just for good measure. The recipe doesn't call for that, but that's how I like my blueberry muffins, so I'm just gonna go put a little sprinkle on, and then I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 for about, the recipe says less than 30 minutes, so I'm gonna start with 20 and see how they come out, and then I'll just keep like letting them go for 5-minute increments in between. So, see you back in about 30 minutes. Been about a half an hour and I am back, and here are my muffins. Since I used fresh blueberries, they did squeege a little bit and they might be a little tricky to get out of the tin, but that's okay. As always, this recipe came from the recipe book Made 9 Pies that we sell at the Chenango County Historical Society. And this particular recipe came to us from a woman in Norwich. So that's cool. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next week.